while since we heard that. What's going on, everybody? How is everybody doing? Nobody's here, but that's par for the course when you decide to just throw on a live on a whim, which is basically what this is. Yakin with Yukon, that's something we haven't said for quite a while. Yeah, it feels weird. We'll say it feels weird. So hopefully somebody joins in. If somebody does join in, the link is in the comments and you can come on and we can do like old times. Ultra Cardizilla, what's up, man? Good to see you. Collect to play, what's up? Hey, there's some people rolling in. It's good to see you guys. Good to see you. Oh, you know what? We already have a guest. Look at this. Fantastic. We already have a guest. It's funny because this guest was the last guest that was on Yakin with Yukon. So you know what? We might as well just bring him in. What's up, Dano?
Oh, hey, what's up, man? Yeah.
Not much, man. Just decided to do this on a whim, and I was like, well, I'm sure Dan's either sculpting or pouring or something. So I figured I'd give you
honestly, I was kind of sitting around. I went to Walmart and I forgot my wallet after I'd picked up a handful of things, so I just decided I wasn't going back there.
Yeah.
But so no, I as soon as you texted me, I was like, oh, why not? So
why not? Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you, man.
Oh yeah, no problem.
So there's actually some people here. With this thing, so I haven't done this. The last time we did it was you and me. Like I haven't done this at all lately because I just haven't felt like it.
I can't blame you. It's 2024 with the internet and attitudes run amok about literally everything.
Yeah. Well,
if I happen to like chocolate ice cream, then I'm a horrible person. According to the vanilla ice cream.
Should be liking vanilla or strawberry. Yeah. There's those strawberry people too, man. You gotta watch out for that.
Well, then you got the people that like the Neapolitan. I mean, what do you do with that?
Oh, jeez. Those are just the I like everything people where, everything's cool.
Well, it's like I was texting my friend Jeff today, and he said he's sick of everything being political. And that's literally what it is. You can't post videos about toys. You can't have an opinion about Mark Hamill. You can't have any opinions unless they're other people's opinions. And it's like, well, who wants to do all that? So
I mostly got laughs and thumbs up for my Mark Hamill joke, but I did have a couple of people that wanted me dead. So, I mean, what are you going to do?
If they didn't want you dead for that, it'd be something else. Maybe, hey, you have a blue shirt on. Oh, I hate blue. I don't know.
I just stole that. That wasn't me. I didn't make that. I just stole it. That's my whole life. I just steal things and forward them like they're hot. I'm the Michael Scott of YouTube, man. I just steal shit,
Well, he doesn't actually write the emails. He just forwards them along. Yeah. Well, it's funny because people are in for a huge awakening when they come to the realization that the world does not actually revolve around them.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Very true. Let me welcome in a couple people. Collect to play. What's up, man? Good to see you. Zilla, we said what's up to you. Let's read your comment real quick. Anyone watch Terminator Zero? Because I enjoyed their anime and I knew I would enjoy it more. It's way more. No, man. I don't want to watch a lot of Terminator, buddy. So sorry. The man collects. What's up, man? Good to see you, Chris. Good to see you. What the hell? So you're on here twice somehow. I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me? See, now I can't hear you. Typical problems on Yakin with Yukon as always. All right. Let's see. Try again. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So we're going to kick that one from the studio. We kicked Dan out. Guys, I did leave the link, which is right here in the chat. If anybody wants to join in, be my guest. No format whatsoever for this. This was just off a whim. I was sitting around, just got the kids to bed. I was like, I haven't gone live in a long time. So why not? Let's just do it. And I know I haven't watched anybody's lives. I know I haven't been supportive with anybody. Well, that's just it's life, man. Life's gotten in the way and stuff. So there it is what it is. But we'll see if Dan joins back. If not, but if anybody wants to join, be my guest. Definitely would love to have you on. Let's talk about a couple things though. I did want to talk about this Hasbro Pulse nonsense PulseCon, I think it is. It's going to be nothing but nonsense tomorrow. I think that happens like throughout the day, so that'll be interesting. I'm not thinking that's going to go well. So
there we go.
There, that's better. It's like you It's like you left, and then you came back, and when you came back, you couldn't talk, or I couldn't hear you.
It's because I was trying to open. I opened it through YouTube, and I opened it through your StreamYard link, and I tried to go into the app of StreamYard, and it just.
The link. So that never works. I always have to go in through Chrome. So
well, like
I got my whole setup here because I haven't used this setup in like 4 months. So I was like,
right. Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now I know. Sorry about that. So
no, you're good. You're good. So I was just talking about Hasbro. I know you're not that into toys. You're only into toys like a little bit, but Hasbro's having this Hasbro PulseCon they do every year, and it's usually a complete shit show with most things Hasbro. But do you keep track on toys at all, or is it pretty much just watching my channel is where you get your toy information?
Literally my toy information is Yukon Phil. Yeah.
That's not very good information, man.
No, it is because our tastes are basically the same. Like obviously with Star Wars, you took that and ran with it a lot more than I would have. But like when you're talking like the nostalgic stuff, Ghostbusters, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and stuff like that, I mean that's something that will just never go away because, like I say, the nostalgia of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I certainly appreciate a cool toy. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think the nostalgia is like 98% of it for me. So
yeah. Well, that's what sells, the nostalgia sells. But like you mentioned Star Wars, I am so soured on Star Wars now because of this Acolyte crap. Like it's just Disney as a whole and Hasbro as a whole. It's really soured it for me. It's like I enjoy, me and my son Mikey. We like doing the Transformers and the Ninja Turtles more than Star Wars. I bought this one thing here the other day and I did a review on it. You watched The Mandalorian season 1, right?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, he gets on
Disney Plus, so
he gets on this blurg thing, and this came out. They want $40 for this thing. I didn't pay that.
Well, back in the day, it's like a $12 toy,
right? So I paid $25 for it because I pre-ordered it right when they announced it. But it's like $40, and I mean it's okay. But I mean, you probably remember like the Wampa that I used to have, and it came with the Luke Skywalker, and it was like $15, or the Jabba the Hutt that I used to have was like $15.
Right?
Like this is $40 now, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so. It's got to the point where not only is it killed watching anything new Star Wars because I won't do that, but it like even the older stuff, going and buying stuff. I mean, I just unboxed all these. I won't get them now, but I unboxed all these Ninja Turtles today. They were 13 or $14 a piece, right? And they come with all their weapons. They come with a stand, and all their stands connect together. And that was cheaper than one of these little figures. And I'm like, geez, man,
I mean, that just
taking all the fun out of it, dude. It's like,
Disney just sucks the fun out of it. Obviously, the price gouging, but then they make everything political. They do everything. All they care about, seemingly, is profit, obviously. But the other thing they care about is just everything but making good product. It's like you make a movie to entertain people, not to drive home some multi-millionaire, billionaire studio execs political opinions, because no one,
So the Acolyte single-handedly had like me lose like all these followers and subs. It's just like, okay.
Well, because you didn't like it, because you're either with us or against us,
Pretty much that with us or against us mentality, yeah. So there you go.
Oh, and everything.
Yeah, Collect Plays right. Street Sharks. Do you remember Street Sharks?
I do. Now that it's brought up, it's funny how it triggers your memory.
Again, I think they were like $7-8 when we were kids. Now they're like $25. And I've yet to even see them at like Walmart or Target or anything like that. And it's like,
well, that has to make it hard as any, since you're a toy channel, like any toy collector, like I guess nowadays you really have to kind of get more picky. I mean, about what you get, like. I mean, am I right in that? Like, because everything's
you do
expensive.
You do well. Yeah, it's so expensive, and you just have to really narrow it down. I talked about this on a live stream. I haven't been on a live stream in so long, but the last one I was on, I talked about this where it's like, you got to watch what you're buying and you got to pick what you want and don't fall into
Yeah.
crap, blah, blah, blah. And it's like anymore, I go to the store and 99% of the stuff, I'm like, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it, you know. So I've been really good about sticking with the same five things: the Star Wars, the Ghostbusters, the Ninja Turtles, the you know, Transformers, and Masters of the Universe, the new stuff. And man, I haven't really deviated from that at all. So yeah, that's great.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you got to lock it in, and it's. I imagine with stuff like going on with Star Wars, it's probably even harder to give them invest your money into.
Like I said, this is like the only thing because I kind of swore off Disney Star Wars period to where it's like I didn't even want to give my money anymore because it's like all this crap. And then I don't know if you've seen any of it, but so this Acolyte show was a total woke piece of crap.
I read more than enough.
So the lead actress gets on there. And guys, if you don't like the political talk, you're free to leave. But that's what's going to happen for a minute here because it's,
it's reality. It is what it is.
I'm one of those cult alt-right people, and so is Dan. So if you don't like us, leave.
He doesn't think for himself at all. He just goes with what the TV says.
So anyway, what happened was the lead actress. So she's black, and there's no problem with her being black. I know a lot of great black people. That's no problem there. But she gets on there and she says that the show was canceled because of the alt-right and because of the Republicans and because of conservatives. It's like, no, the show was canceled because you suck and because the show was terrible. Like it would have been bad even if it wasn't the woke agenda with it. It was the worst acting I've ever seen. The story was terrible. I mean, there was nothing. And she gets on there. She's got the gall to blame the alt-right, the cult alt-right. And it's like, well, this is why, they're losing people at a rapid pace. I mean, come on.
Well, if you're going to sit there and just, they do what's called casting a wide net. It's kind of like when Hillary Clinton said the basket of deplorables. When you're just casting this broad net of anyone that may disagree with you, you're putting them into this characterization, and you're insulting people, and you're coming at them when you don't even know them. It's a massive assumption that alt-right, I don't know what that is, but if all these people that think differently than you or having a different opinion, they're horrible people, and you're going to say stuff like that, it's amazing to me that people cannot connect the dots. They think that they're allowed to just say and do what they want, right? And they think that, and they don't believe in personal responsibility. No, they don't believe that there's repercussions for their actions. If you write a terrible script and you have terrible cinematography, you have terrible acting, you have what is, because I read it as just a big cash grab. If people are aware of that, they're going to tune out. There were Democrats and Republicans both that got out of that show. I can guarantee you that. That is nothing
absolutely,
to do with it.
Man.
If the quality sucks,
there you go.
That's it. Like if I sell one of my products to somebody and they say, "Hey, I didn't like that," and say I cut corners, say there was holes in it and it was terrible, do I blame them? Nowadays,
it's your fault. I mean,
or
you
is
could.
It my responsibility for my actions? That's the alt-right talk, everyone. Look out.
That or you can wave your hand. You can be like, Obi-Wan, can wave your hand? That didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's not actually people eating cats in Ohio. That didn't happen.
Well, you ignore all the videos you've seen. We have to see. That's the other thing is when you prop yourself above everything in reality, then it's the world against you. See that horrible victimhood mentality. It doesn't work for anybody. And that's
I told you it was going to happen. So we started talking a little bit of politics. The viewership went from 7 to 4. And now this live stream won't be monetized because YouTube hates me anyway.
Well, you're not going to get your 84 cents? Oh no. Uh-oh. What are you going to do
the way it's going the way it's been going the last week, because I put up 3 videos this week. Usually I try to get 100 views per video. I haven't got 100 views total out of all 3 videos. It's like, whatever.
See, but what you're saying there is the ultimate problem, because people our generation now is so weak that people have to live in their own bubble. And if they hear anything outside of that echo chamber, they can't handle it. And they get mad and they run away and they They freak out. They can't handle it. As opposed to just saying, okay, I have open ears. I have open mind. I have an open heart. I can actually learn and listen, as opposed to like a little kid holding their breath and plugging their ears until they get the candy
run away from it.
Like,
go into your safe space, you know, go into your safe, hide down, cower, suck your thumb, you know, whatever. So.
Well, I mean, is it possible to simply get along with people of all races, of all belief structures, of all political structures? Of course. It doesn't take that out. Don't put yourself above.
Well, yeah, and so like the worst thing that I hear when it comes to Star Wars, because Star Wars is one of the most divisive not genre, but things out there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I would like Star Wars if it wasn't for other Star Wars fans. All these Star Wars fans are so toxic. I can't enjoy Star Wars. What the hell does that mean? It's like
that's ridiculous.
You are so interested in Yukon Phil's opinion that I don't like the Acolyte that shuts you down from liking the Acolyte. You can't do it because that guy Yukon Phil from Oklahoma, that son of a bitch.
I didn't know you were so powerful. How did you get that powerful? Holy cow! I mean, you hold such power over these people. It's amazing. It's called living rent free.
Rent free in your head, man.
The problem is that nobody's humble. Ultimately, like, we make jokes and stuff, but the ultimate problem is that everyone thinks that their view or their opinion, not everyone, but many people, is the supreme truth, the supreme being, if you will. It's like, no. You're going to have disagreement with literally everyone on the face of the earth. And I always say, if you shut out in your life everyone that you've ever disagreed with, you're going to shut out yourself, because I guarantee everyone's done something that they haven't approved of themselves.
Absolutely. Well, and ultimately that's who you're hurting. You're hurting yourself more than anybody else, because, you know, people move on. They're like, okay, well, forget that guy. I'm going to move on to the next one. No one's sitting there sulking about you and what your problem is. They're moving on. You know, they don't care. Let me read this. Let me read this comment real quick. I keep telling Ed from Rebels how I never watched Acolyte, and I'm glad it got canceled. And I told those who never watched Acolyte to not watch it, as it was not worth it. And see, that's the problem too. It's like, then people get upset. They're like, well, don't tell me. I need to find out for myself. Well, go ahead. Go waste this time. We're trying to save you and have you, you know, I mean, it's an opinion, but the problem with the opinion is the line between opinion and fact is so blurred now. It's like, nobody knows what's what. They think because Dan and Yukon Phil say the Acolyte is complete trash, that, oh my gosh, that's how it is. You ruined Star Wars for me, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, you can only let someone, in a metaphorical way, you can only let someone ruin something in your life if you allow them. But ultimately, that's just a lie. It's impossible for someone else to ruin something for you, technically, especially with just a verbalized opinion.
It's crazy, man. And that's when so like with that, then I just backed off. I like almost completely decided to stop the channel completely, because it's like, this is ridiculous. This is so stupid. Well, so I just took a big old break, and I'm like, never post. And then I was like, okay, it's done. We'll kind of ease back into it, and, you know, we'll joke around about it. But again, it's like, you know,
well, you know, ultimately,
really not that big of a deal.
It's not. I mean, in the thick of things, you look at what's going on in the world as a whole. But ultimately, if people can't put you as a human being and your friendship above an opinion about a Star Wars show that you may have, that's scary to me. Yeah. Because that person has no understanding of what really matters and what's really valuable in life, and they're going to lean on that stuff. And if they keep doing that, they're going to be 50 and by themselves, and they're going to wonder why. Yeah. Oh, he had a different opinion on, like, go back to the ice cream. Oh, I can't be friends with that guy. That's like a married couple saying, oh, well, we can't talk about that subject. So that subject is more important than your spouse and your marriage.
Your marriage.
That's insane.
Right. Your marriage.
See, that's crazy. Anyway.
I know. Collect to Play says the Force is strong with us, so that's good. And then Archie says, Yukon isn't ruining anything. He's saving you all from watching one of the worst shows ever. Thank you. See, that's
Ultra, that's you're wise. Thank you for supporting him. You know, to have that willingness to be like, hey, I can hear different opinions or viewpoints. That's okay. That's actually very, very healthy. Yeah. That's how you get better as a human.
Can't be a know-it-all, because guess what? You don't know it all. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. And here's my biggest problem though is, the way people act nowadays is like, oh, I don't like out the show the acolyte. Are you racist? Wait a
And
minute.
that's what you're a racist. That's all the stuff they got thrown. You're racist. You're
right.
bigot. You're homophobe. You're
Right.
you don't like cows. I mean, all
It
this
couldn't have
crap.
possibly been the writing, the
Could
acting,
have been the
the
writing.
story, the
Yeah,
direction. I mean,
so
the
it's like
filmmaking in a whole.
crazy, man, crazy. So I wanted to talk to you a few minutes. So I did a little video. I was at Lowe's last night, and I did a little video. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but I just
haven't.
did a little.
I saw it pop up.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, no one else watched it either. It's fine.
Oh well.
But so I know it's Halloween season, and we've talked a couple times. Obviously, you and I talk as we're brothers all the time. But you talked on this live stream about what you do for your in your spare time and stuff. Talk a little bit about how busy you are, and then tell them a little bit about what you got going on with the haunted house that you work for.
Oh, sure. Well, I can kind of show you how busy I am. These are a bunch of unpainted orders. These are all jack-o'-lanterns back here. They're foam filled. They're foam filled latex. So this one I sculpted off of the original Halloween from 1978 in the opening credits. There's a little pumpkin there as the camera zooms in, and so that's kind of what he's off of. And so I literally go through and I'll carve it out and paint it and all that. But yeah, it's kind of a busy time of year. Those are really the orders that I got going. I'm actually working on another sculpture right here. So if anyone's ever seen the Evil Dead movies, this is kind of a mix of different characters and some of my own ideas incorporated into this sculpt. So meaning a sculpture out of clay, and then we make a mold, and then we. But yeah, that's kind of what I've got going. But as far as the haunted house goes, yeah, I work out at a haunted house called Terror in the Corn. That's about 45 minutes from my house, and I'm a zone lead. So my zone is about a quarter of the haunt, and I manage about 30 actors. So I'm going to start out there in a couple weeks, and so yeah, this is all not including my day job.
Yeah, see, nice, man, nice. So we kind of touched on a few times. There might be new people watching or whatnot, so we can go over it again. But explain. I already know the answer to this, so you can just go ahead and go off. But tell everybody like what got you into this stuff and what got you into haunted houses and kind of just give them a little background on why you are doing what you're doing.
Sure. I like the impromptu interview. That's awesome. I'm always down for that though. I love that.
Actually, I have an idea that I want to talk to you about after we're done.
Sure.
I just thought of something. So
all right, I'm always open to that, obviously. So getting into like haunted houses and Halloween was kind of I don't want to say a slow burn. Like in our family growing up, obviously, Yukon and I are brothers, and so our mom was always kind of into old school horror movies, along with our Uncle Jeff and our grandpa who passed in 2015. But when we were kids, we would go help our Uncle Jeff and decorate the yard and stuff for Halloween. He was so good at building I make my stuff here, but he would make those custom props by hand in his garage with whatever mask he had and all this. But so that kind of got me into that, and then we started our home haunt in the year 2000 in our parents' basement, little 500 square foot basement. Actually, it actually was smaller than my shop down here.
Yeah, it was.
Because my basement down here is about it's about 1,000 square feet, 1,100 square feet. So it's pretty big. But so we did that for a while, and then 2010 rolled around and we opened a pro haunt, and then been working in a variety of haunts ever since then. But I don't know what got me into it is that I'm a very all that I said, but also I'm just a very creative minded person, and I am always I always wanted to try everything. I would play drums, I would play guitar, I'd take painting classes, I take this class. Drove our parents nuts probably.
Perfectionist as well. You forgot that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've redone this guy a couple times because of that. But
Dan,
but it's
perfect.
okay because
Me, I do it once. I'm like, that's good enough, Dan. He's like, well, this is the 30th time I'll get it right this time.
yeah. Well, in my older age, I grew enough wisdom by the grace of God to get those words out of my vocabulary. Those words being good enough. If I'm not like, hey, that's exactly what I want, then on my sculptures especially, I'll just grab the clay and I'll just rip it off and I'll start over. I'm not afraid anymore, so that's cool.
Oh, there you go. You don't care if you wasted 10 hours on it. You're just going to start over.
Well, why put a shoddy product out then? Because that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to. They don't care about how much time you put in necessarily. If they see your finished product and it blows.
Right.
Of course, I've also come to realize that most people don't really know if this kind of thing is like really bad or if it's really good.
That's what's
horror people
so great
know,
about it. Yeah, that's what's so great about it is your average person who's not really into that stuff that just sees it. They're like, wow, they just assume with their eyes, oh, that's perfect. They don't, until you get one of those, the horror people that are like the Star Wars people, the know-it-alls. Well, the nose should be a centimeter left.
I will. It's funny you say that because, ironically enough, and it's so ironic, the mask and prop making and sculptor crowd, there's a small wedge, like a little. If you're looking at like a pie graph, like there's a little tiny wedge that's extraordinarily toxic, like you're saying, but it's maybe like 2%. Overall, and this is shocking to say, but overall, your vast majority of people in that community that sculpt and make stuff like I do, it's the nicest, most supportive, caring, information sharing, encouraging people. It's insane. It really sounds crazy, and they're all making monsters, which is again ironic. You're making something scary and monsters and creepy and far out, bloody, gory stuff, zombies, whatever. But they're the nicest people, and I'm telling you, that's why I guess which has helped me kind of stick with this, because they're not like many of the haunted house people, and they're not like many of the horror movie people or wrestling fans, professional wrestling fans. You talk about toxic.
I mean, yeah, we could talk about that one. So. It's all the people that wanted Cody Rhodes to win the title 4 months ago. Now they screw Cody Rhodes.
Then they turn on.
All of a sudden, everybody loves Roman Reigns. I don't know how that happened, but
someone flipped a switch somewhere. I guess it's the cool thing to do. But
right. Yeah. So, I did want to ask you a question. I've actually never asked you this before, and that goes ever. So, hold on one sec.
Were you just kind of like thinking of the stuff and you just counted on the fact that I may join your?
No.
Or you just think of this stuff right now?
See, this is what I've explained to everybody. This is what everybody don't get. When I interview someone as they're talking, I'm listening, but I'm also coming up with other questions in my head. See, that's
so you're shooting off the hip. That's how
I always shoot off the hip, man.
No, that's a talent in itself. People don't get that.
See, everybody, people have asked me that. Be like, Yukon, where do you come up with this? How do you come up with literally the mind is going for the next question as the person is answering the question I just asked. That's this is why people have a hard time communicating, because they're usually so worried about themselves and saying what they got to say. They don't listen to what the person they're talking to is saying. Therefore, they can't carry on the conversation because they have no idea what that person just said. Because they're too worried about getting out.
And they're narcissistic.
Exactly. They're too worried about getting out what they got to say. So it's a gift.
Okay. It really is, honestly.
So you and I are both Christians, right? We're both firm believers in Jesus Christ. We're both believers in God.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that believe Halloween is like evil and you shouldn't celebrate it as a Christian. What are your thoughts and views on that?
That is one that has really been hard on me for many years. It's really the last 4 or 5 years where it's been this like kind of a pendulum going back and forth. Mm-hmm. Because here's the problem is people love to be more flamboyant and more in the realm of exaggeration, even if they are like, say, Christian influencers or content creators or preachers or whatever, as much as, say, a person that's building on a house. I guess my point is there that
a lot of that in the haunted house community.
Yeah, well,
Right.
What happens again is it's like we were talking about earlier is everyone wants to. They don't want to think, right? I mean, and that sounds bad, but they don't want to break things down. They cast a broad net and say, "Oh, Halloween evil." Well, okay, but you can say that about anything. You can go to many church buildings,
You
and
can say that about
there's more evil in there than some guy's zombie display for Halloween because,
right.
So it takes what God would call discernment. You have to break down each thing. Am I opposed to the Ouija board crap, the witch and spells crap, all that? 100%. That side of Halloween, I detest. I hate it. I don't claim that. Now, then you have again that overly absurd side that says, "Oh, jack-o'-lantern, that's evil. It's a pumpkin with a face in it." I understand the roots of it. I understand this and that. What maybe people, and actually those actually originated as people would carve a turnip, a face in there to ward off evil spirits. Is that what we're doing? Maybe some people are, but you actually have to also have an understanding of where your own heart's at. I have these fake foam filled latex pumpkins. They are just that. They're pieces of latex, for crying out loud. So you have to have perspective and discernment of what it really is. What people did thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, that's on them. And so it's like, I'm not going to, well, they did that. Okay. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It borders, there's a borderline of like being absurd and being silly. This is so absurd and ridiculous. How this could be offensive. It's just clay. So if the clay was in like the shape of a Cabbage Patch doll or something nice, it would be okay. But since it's in the shape of what it is, it's offensive. Right? Like that makes no sense to me. So yeah, it just takes discernment. It takes when you cast that broad net and say, "Oh, you took your kid trick or treating." Well, that's demonic. How?
Right.
If say you take little Susie, your little 6-year-old daughter, and she's dressed as a little princess, and you go to 5 houses and you get some Snickers and Kit Kat bar. Where's the demonic part of it?
I think the reason it's blown up so much is what unfortunately we're doing right now. It's social media. Social media,
yeah.
I say it's like the greatest evil, yet I do it all the time. but it really is.
Again, though, you're not using it how other people use it.
No,
so you can't
but
say
what happens with it? True. What happens with it is it's misused a lot, and then a lot of you probably see it as much as I do. There's so much information that you would think would be right that's completely wrong, and so much information that a normal person that doesn't do their research would believe. And that's how they get you. That's how they get their hooks in you. It's like, okay, well, oh my God, it was on Instagram. It's gotta be true. Well, if you're believing that, you need help, man. So I think everything's gotten so overblown throughout the years with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those things, TikTok, all those things blowing up. It's like, okay, the line between reality and non-reality is very, very, very blurry. And it's like you have to be very careful on which side you're going to be on. I think that's where faith comes in it a lot too. It's like, okay, well, if I have a question about this, then I need to probably go to the Bible. If the Bible doesn't tell me exactly, I'm part of a men's group in my church. I'll go talk to guys at the men's group. I'll talk to Dan. Dan knows the Bible better than I do. So it's like, well, don't sell yourself short. So that's the thing. It's like, a lot of people, if we're being real here too, Christmas is also a bit of a, the tree itself is kind of a pagan homage, if you will, right? So it's like, okay, I think what I'm trying to say is there's always something that's going to be in question at some point in time.
There is, because I think, to your point, polarization is the word, because I have found, ironically enough, of all the usages of social media, the ugliest, darkest, most evil one I have found, and this is going to sound crazy, but it's true, is the polarization of these Christian influencers.
Oh, yeah,
98% of them are full of it. And they're trying to get...
Kenneth Copeland, anyone?
Yeah, big time. Jesse Duplantis. But like even the younger people, they're having to be polarizing. If they were doing what a guy I listened to named Mike Winger, they're doing what he did,
fantastic.
where just straightforward, or John MacArthur when they film his stuff, just straightforward truth and actually biblically sound.
Yep.
They're not going to get those views and the clicks they want. So they all polarize. And Halloween's one that they love, and it's that time of year. I've already seen some of the posts. I've unfollowed most of the goofs, but just they polarize it and they exaggerate it, and they always talk about everyone else. They don't talk about themselves or their own sin, which is ironic. And that is the most evil thing, because they twist God's word and they'll twist scriptures to fit what kind of narrative they want to push to make it more polarizing and reel people in. Like you were saying, that's the most evil thing there is using God's word to try to push your personal opinion or view or make money or get followers or some corrupted, selfish reason.
Right.
There's nothing more evil than that. That's more evil than what Adolf Hitler did, because you're misleading your audience right into hell.
Well, I mean, Adolf Hitler was a huge influencer, right? I mean, come on.
Well, he was, but that's the thing. It's the same subliminal messaging, like that manipulation. It's that same thing, and it's weird because people always, they don't quite grasp that, and they think, like you said earlier, if they think because it's on social media, this guy says he's a Christian. Well, you judge by their fruit, anyone? Like their actions, how they're living. So,
I mean, it's pretty obvious now that there is a lot more Halloween than like there was even a few years ago. It's pushed much harder. It's creeping up on Christmas as one of the biggest money makers out there, holiday wise. I think it's a close second now. What do you think? Do you think that that's a tribute to what? Do you think it's a tribute to more evil in the world? People love to celebrate, that stuff? Or do you think it's just, people are looking for an escape? What in your opinion, why do you think it's pushed so hard? And why do you think they're trying to go more extreme at it?
Yeah, no, that's a real, man, you should have been being moderator for some debates, man. That's a great question.
Fact check that.
No, that's really a deep question, which, me, I thrive on that stuff. I love it, like, to no end. I think I don't want to sound like a cop-out, but there's a variety of answers. Number one, I think people, they can use it as something for fun and with their kids and things like that. I hate to quote him, but the quote makes such good sense. Rob Zombie once said, because he said, okay, why? He was saying that people would ask him, why are you into horror? Why do you like all that stuff? He's like, look, it's all about something you don't see every day. He's like, it's the same reason when people are driving and they see a car accident, they'll take their eyes off the road and they'll look, because it's something they don't see every day.
Rubberneck.
Yeah, I mean, really, and that, man, I mean, nothing against Rob Zombie, but man, that's kind of out of left field. Like, you wouldn't think that like an entertainer would come up with something that profound, but that it's so true. And I've said that over the years, and it is true. I don't see this every day. It's just a goofy creature. It's a monster. It's not real. So I think that's a big part of it. And people, creativity, they can get creative. And people love the one-upsmanship, like, meaning, if their neighbor put out a couple of jack-o'-lanterns, they're like, hey, well, I can build a scarecrow. I can have two zombies coming out of the ground. I think that's another appeal. But then there is a sect of people where it is just straight up for like the dive into darkness, if you will. They kind of thrive on it. But what's interesting is a lot of people that I even know at the haunted attraction I work at, where, they're dressed in all black. Yeah, they love haunts. They love horror movies. But those people they don't live those things. You know what I mean? Like, they're moral people. They're kind people. They're loving people, even Christians. They're generous people. They're encouraging. They're supportive. Like, they don't live what they see Art the Clown doing in those movies, or Jason Voorhees or something. And I'm kind of off horror mostly. I mean, I obviously am sculpting old characters, but I think that there has to be that discernment and separate, like you said, reality from fiction. It's not to say, hey, just because I'm not into watching violence really anymore at all. It really makes me cringe now. But I do have the understanding it's like, okay, that's a movie. But so you have to, again, discernment, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
question.
mean, hey man, it's all up there. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, I get what you're saying too. You brought up Terrifier. Terrifier, I think, is just complete crap,
It's
and I
trash.
think it's
It's
I
trash.
think it's what it's doing. It's not like the old school ones. You like we talk about like Salem's Lot. We talk about like a lot of the movies that wouldn't even hardly be considered horror today. Horror today is how many people die in the movie. Let's just be straight up
It's not
honest.
even horror. It's
That's not
just
horror. It's not
no.
scary. It's these guys pushing it to the end. And what really pisses me off with like the Terrifier thing is when you bring other holidays into it. You bring Christmas into it. That
Right.
shit pisses me off. That's ridiculous. I hate
Well,
that stuff. I will never
there's
be a
no talent.
proponent for that.
Right.
This guy, this clown that's making this movie, he's so great, dude. You're sick. You need your head checked. You need to go talk to a psychiatrist is what
Well,
you need, not making movies. For somebody to come up with some of the stuff they do, I mean, and the people that get excited for it, I actually do get genuinely concerned for the people that get so excited for crap like that. It's like,
yeah.
I don't want my kids around those kind of people, man. It's
Well,
like,
that's the thing is it's horror. It's not horror like you're saying. Horror is more about like atmosphere and story, and I think even a lot of it could be kind of reality based of like because everyone has. I would lean horror more in like the darker side of life, just the real struggles that maybe people have or fears. But these movies now, to your point, are in the realm of just glorifying violence, and it's they're cash grabs too. So again, it takes it takes the responsibility of an individual to discern each and everything and try to evaluate each and everything, which most people I don't think do. If people say, "Oh, I love horror," they love everything from the original Frankenstein's monster, from 100 years ago, all the way up to Art the Clown. They don't understand that there's a massive difference. Like,
just
those
a little bit.
Well, those were story and mood and suspense and character driven, and they're more tragic stories, right? Like one that's like, oh man, like you feel bad for Frankenstein's monster because he's innocent in a way, right? Like so. I don't feel bad or cheer on like Art the Clown, like that. But here's the weird part about those kinds of movies nowadays, the modern ones is, yes, they're horribly violent, but if you look at, it's so ironic. If you look at the characters that are being killed in those movies, they're horrible characters. They're horrible, atrocious. No one would ever want to be around those types of personalities. So it's like you horrible villain, but people getting killed are just as horrible. So it's like, where's the redeeming quality in all of this? I think
they don't want you to emotional attachment to the victim that they are rooting for them to happen what's happening to them. That's
that started to go away in the 80s. That started to go away in the 80s. It's like in the original Halloween, look at it, that's 1978, but we didn't want Jamie Lee Curtis to get hurt in that movie, right? Like and the other people that were just weirdos and they're kind of douchey, it's like they got theirs. It's kind of when there is, and I know John Carpenter didn't mean to do it, he's made that clear. But when there's like a moral thing to it and there's some redeeming quality, you can stomach it so much easier because if that's the ultimate point of the movie.
Well, they went from that. So they went from that, like you said, the redeeming quality. Then it served as a warning for like Friday the 13th and stuff. It's like, okay, well, if you drink, you're gonna die. If you have sex, premarital sex, you're gonna die. If you do this, you're gonna die. So it's like we're trying to warn. Now we're I was watching old Siskel and Ebert shows. Which I love watching. I love Ebert. He hated Friday. He would call it. He's all the people who did this movie and gave it the funding and directed it, they're sick and they need to be locked up. He's just going nuts. It's hilarious.
I
He's just
mean, you know,
and Gene Siskel was the same way. And to their credit, they did have some moral compass when it came to that. They're like, well, we don't really. He said it's an atrocious thing with some of the movies that were going on in the 80s that Friday the 13th was the #1 movie of that year and this, and it's like he would get so upset about it. But he actually did have a point,
Well, sure. Again, it's you don't want to speak for the creators of those films. Like maybe they sit there and think it's as ridiculous as anyone else. I don't know. It's again, it's really going to depend if you ask. I hate that cop-out answer, but man, it's so true because I still like the character, like the artistic, like the makeup and the effects of, like, say, Jason Voorhees, the bad guy in Friday the 13th movies, most of them. I still like how did they make that hockey house? The makeup effects, like Kane Hodder when he was Jason, his acting. I like that piece of it. I just hate everything else.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's honestly, man, it's like that with Star Wars. It's like with Star Wars, the stuff that I like the most is what the designers did. The Darth Vader costume. It's not so much, James Earl Jones. It wouldn't be the same without him.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's the costumes, it's the designs, it's the vehicles, the battles, all that stuff. The story sucks. Let's get real here. The story's crap, dude.
I mean,
I have a
George
bad feeling
Lucas-
about this. I have a bad feeling, dude. I mean, the story. Who talks like that? Honestly,
Well,
who talks like that?
You're multiple galaxies, but everyone seems to be British. It's really weird.
Yeah.
You know what? You brought up a good point, though, and thank you for bringing that up. That point you brought up Star Wars in what you just said about it. So, look at the contrast for a minute, because if I may defend the horror genre as a whole for a minute, which just sounds silly saying that, but people crap on that for the violence and all that, right? It's picked on more than anything, justifiably in many cases. But look at all the violence in the Star Wars movies. No one cares. But it's not bloody.
Well, it's a one-sided affair because the stormtroopers never hit anybody.
Oh, that's
it's
true.
only them getting hit. So yeah.
But look at Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Right? Kills younglings. I mean, and Darth Vader, he's, I remember seeing Rogue One in the theater, I believe, when at the end there, when Darth Vader takes out all those rebels, that scene's freaking awesome. People are cheering that.
Yeah.
So there is a blatant hypocrisy within society to say, oh, horror is so disgusting and violent. But then you have Star Wars rated PG. Alderaan gets blown up. Millions of people are literally killed in one scene.
Whole planet.
No one cares.
No one cares.
And Star Wars for so many decades was marketed more towards, like, teens and kids. So I just think it's kind of ironic because, like, well, okay, Friday the 13th, while albeit is very trashy, most of them, the first 5, I'll say especially, and they show gore and blood and they're violent, but there's way more death and violence in a Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Again, so that's what's so ironic to me. It's like people, again, they haven't, like, thought about that. They don't connect the dots or have that discernment. So it's like, okay, the original Halloween 1978, there's 5 deaths in that whole movie, right? But then you have something like the original Star Wars. How many people are killed in that movie? We watched Porkins blow up. Like, he can't even snap his chin strap. The guy's so stressed, and boom,
Right.
So it's just one of those things. It's like, well,
yeah.
So it's okay to watch a guy in his X-wing get blown to hell.
I think
but if we see a guy get stabbed in the face, it's too much.
I think what you just said is right, though. It's the way it's presented. It's the way it's presented. It's a little, you kind of said the same thing about Jamie Lee Curtis. You had some emotional ties to her, but if you actually knew who she is as a real person, you'd be like,
come on, Mike, go get her. No.
Go get her. But
that's a joke.
That was a joke. But what I'm saying is, it's like, I think it's the way it's presented. We didn't have stormtroopers go down and, like, machete everybody in Alderaan, and that sort of thing. I think it's the way it's presented. And there's an emotional tie, like you said before, and that's what gets people with Star Wars. It's unexpected for them to blow up an entire planet. It's unexpected. You're like, come on, who does that? And then it's like, even later on in episode 7, they would blow up like 5 planets, because
what is the death count in all the Star Wars movies compared to, say, all the Friday the 13th movies?
It's billions.
Star Wars is like 20-1.
Yeah, it's
50-1. So
billions and billions of people. It's probably the most of any movie, because you just blow up one planet and there it is.
It's kind of like the very first Rambo movie, First Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so violent. It's like Sylvester Stallone, Rambo, the character. I believe he kills one guy in that
one guy. Yeah.
But then the newest, like 1 or 2, he's sitting there with like a 50 cal minigun, and there's just blowing people up like left and right. But people will just say, "Oh, those Rambo movies are violent." When it's like, well, look at the first one, but look at the last one.
Right.
They're like polar opposites. But
that kind of shows you too when they run out of storyline,
make it more violent.
Run out of something. More blood, more death. That'll cover up our shitty story, our trashy story. And it's like,
there's a lot of laziness involved. I mean, I'll give you an example of that. So, you know how Ray and I had Kruger Creations, our old mask shop, which we closed around 2019. But that was one of our kind of calling cards, if you was like very raw, gritty, and very bloody and gory masks, like really over the top. Since I opened my new shop in 2021, I have not bought or used fake blood one time. And I've made nothing like demonic looking. I don't make anything violent looking. I just make creatures and pumpkins, basically. And because that's one thing where I was like, I'm not going to make anything look violent. I'm just not going to. Right. Personal choice. I have nothing against the people that do, but I don't really want to send even to one person a message that might be off and then say, "Oh, hey, I love Jesus." Like, I don't want to convolute anything. Right. It's hard to be in that headspace constantly. We're not perfect, but maybe it's overkill on my end. Maybe not. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I'm getting tired, but stay on. Don't leave, because I want to talk to you about something off of this live stream. So,
okay.
Figure Fever, I'm sorry, man. I saw you earlier, and me and Dan got talking. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. All you guys who joined in, thanks for showing up. I know it was just kind of on a whim. But me and Dan are going to talk about something. I have an idea, so you may not have seen the last of it. So just be aware.
Poor bastards. Okay.
Yeah, right. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. Dan, thanks for hopping on, man. I'll see you guys soon. Go check out some of the videos. I put up 3 videos this week for you people. Go watch them. We'll see you guys soon.